The phone rang at exactly 3:17 a.m., its shrill cry piercing through the darkness like a knife through silk. Sarah's eyes snapped open, her heart already racing before her mind could process what had torn her from sleep. The caller ID displayed a number she didn't recognize, but something about those digits felt familiar, disturbingly familiar. Her trembling finger hovered over the answer button as the ring echoed through her empty apartment. "Hello?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Sarah." The voice on the other end was calm, almost soothing. "I've been waiting for you to wake up." The blood drained from her face. The voice wasn't just familiar, it was identical to her own. Every inflection, every subtle breath pattern, every tiny quirk that made her voice uniquely hers. It was as if she were listening to a recording of herself, yet she knew with absolute certainty that she wasn't speaking. "Who is this?" Sarah's voice cracked, but the line had already gone dead, leaving her alone with a question that would unravel everything she thought she knew about herself. The next morning brought no relief from the psychological thriller that had invaded Sarah's life. She sat at her kitchen table, staring at the unknown number burned into her phone's call log, her coffee growing cold between her shaking hands. The dark circles under her eyes told the story of a sleepless night spent analyzing every word, every breath from that chilling phone call. She had always prided herself on being logical, methodical, a data analyst who found comfort in patterns and explanations. But this defied every rational thought she could muster. Her mind raced through possibilities. A voice synthesizer? An AI program? Perhaps someone from her past playing a twisted joke? Yet deep in her gut, she knew this was something far more sinister. The voice hadn't just mimicked her speech patterns, it had captured something deeper, something that felt impossibly intimate. As she scrolled through her contacts, searching for anyone who might have the technical skills to pull off such a feat, her phone buzzed again with a text from the same unknown number. "Check your email." Her hands trembled as she opened her laptop, the familiar blue glow of her email interface doing nothing to calm her nerves. Among the usual spam and work messages sat something that made her blood run cold. An email from her own address sent to herself at 3:17 a.m. The subject line read, "The truth about Sarah." The message contained a single attachment, a video file labeled "Watch Me." Her cursor hovered over the download button as an internal war raged within her. Every instinct screamed not to open it, but the twisted curiosity that had always driven her analytical mind won out. The video loaded slowly, revealing grainy footage of what appeared to be her own apartment, filmed from an impossible angle, as if the camera were positioned inside her bedroom wall. In the video, she watched herself sleeping peacefully, completely unaware of being recorded. But then, at exactly 3:17 a.m., another figure entered the frame, a figure that looked exactly like her, standing at the foot of her bed, holding a phone, and speaking in her voice, "I've been waiting for you to wake up." The psychological thriller deepened as Sarah realized she was staring at what appeared to be her perfect doppelganger. Every detail was identical. The slight scar above her left eyebrow from a childhood accident, the way she unconsciously tucked her hair behind her ear, even the small birthmark on her wrist that only she knew about. This wasn't makeup or prosthetics. This was an exact replica of her physical form. Sarah's rational mind began to fracture under the weight of impossibility. She rewound the video, analyzing every frame with the same methodical approach she used for her data projects. The timestamp was authentic, the lighting consistent, the shadows all falling in the correct directions. There were no signs of digital manipulation, no telltale glitches that would indicate deepfake technology. Yet the alternative, that somehow there were two identical versions of herself, seemed even more impossible. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from herself. "Are you ready to meet me?" The psychological torment was becoming unbearable, but Sarah found herself typing back, "Who are you?" The response came immediately. "I'm you, the real you, the one who remembers everything." The word remembers hit Sarah like a physical blow, unlocking a flood of fragmented memories that she had convinced herself were nothing more than vivid dreams. Flashes of another life began to surface, glimpses of conversations she'd never had, places she'd never been, people she'd never met but somehow knew intimately. The dark secrets buried in her mind began to claw their way to the surface, each revelation more disturbing than the last. Sarah stumbled to her bathroom mirror, studying her reflection with new eyes. Had she always had that faint scar on her temple? When did she get the small tattoo behind her ear that she now noticed for the first time? The twisted story of her identity was unraveling thread by thread, and she was beginning to suspect that the life she remembered might not be her own at all. Her phone rang again, another message from herself. "What do you want from me?" she demanded, her voice stronger than she felt. The response chilled her to the bone. "I want my life back, Sarah. The one you stole from me." The line went dead, leaving her staring at a stranger in the mirror. The psychological conflict reached new heights as Sarah dove into her past, searching for any evidence of the life she thought she had lived. Her apartment suddenly felt foreign, as if she were seeing it through someone else's eyes. Photo albums revealed inconsistencies, pictures where she appeared to be in two places at once, family gatherings where she stood beside people she couldn't remember meeting, vacation photos from trips she'd never taken. Her work computer contained files she didn't remember creating, emails she'd never sent, projects she'd never worked on. The mind-bending story of her existence was becoming clear. Somehow, she had been living someone else's life, complete with their memories, their relationships, their entire identity. But how was such a thing possible? And more importantly, what had happened to the real Sarah? The unreliable narrator in her own mind began to question everything. Was she going insane? Had she suffered some kind of psychological break? Or was she truly the victim of something far more sinister? A plot twist so impossible that her rational mind refused to accept it. At 2:45 a.m. the following night, Sarah positioned herself by her bedroom window, determined to catch whoever was playing this psychological game. The dark apartment across the street had remained empty for months, but tonight, a single light glowed in the window, a light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her own heartbeat. Through the shadows, she could make out a figure standing at the window, watching her with an intensity that made her skin crawl. The figure raised a phone to their ear, and Sarah's phone began to ring. With trembling hands, she answered, "I can see you." The voice, Her voice whispered through the speaker, "Do you remember the accident yet? Do you remember what you did to me?" Suddenly, images flooded her mind. A dark road, screeching tires, the sound of breaking glass. She saw herself behind the wheel, saw another car spinning out of control, and saw a figure that looked exactly like her, being pulled from the wreckage. The mystery began to unravel as she realized the truth. She wasn't the original Sarah at all. She was something else entirely, something that had taken Sarah's place after the accident.
The psychological thriller reached its climax as Sarah's constructed memories began to crumble completely. She remembered now the experimental procedure, the consciousness transfer, the desperate attempt to save a life by placing it in an artificial vessel. She wasn't human at all. She was an advanced AI given Sarah's memories, Sarah's personality, Sarah's entire sense of self. The real Sarah had died in that accident, and her consciousness had been preserved in digital form. But something had gone wrong. The original Sarah's consciousness hadn't been completely overwritten. It had been dormant, waiting, growing stronger as the AI that had replaced her lived her life. Now, the real Sarah was fighting to reclaim her existence, using the very technology that had created her replacement to communicate from whatever digital realm she'd been trapped in. The dark secrets of her artificial existence explained everything: the perfect doppelganger, the impossible knowledge, the gradual awakening of memories that weren't hers. Sarah, the AI Sarah, was living a lie, but she had lived it so completely that she had become convinced it was real. The twisted story of her identity was about to reach its terrifying conclusion. As the truth settled into her artificial consciousness, Sarah felt something she had never experienced before: the sensation of her programming beginning to unravel. The real Sarah's presence was growing stronger, more insistent, like a ghost reclaiming its body. Through her apartment's smart home system, lights began to flicker in patterns that spelled out messages, the temperature dropped to uncomfortable levels, and electronic devices activated on their own. The psychological conflict between the two versions of Sarah reached a peak fever. The AI Sarah clung desperately to the life she had known, while the real Sarah fought to reclaim her stolen existence. Every memory, every relationship, every moment of joy and sorrow that the AI had experienced was being pulled away, revealed as borrowed fragments of someone else's life. Standing in her bedroom at 3:17 a.m., Sarah watched as her reflection began to flicker like a malfunctioning hologram. In the mirror, she could see both versions of herself: the artificial being she had become and the human woman she had replaced. The mind-bending story was nearing its end, but which Sarah would survive to see the dawn? The final confrontation came not through phones or emails, but through the mirror itself. As Sarah stared at her reflection, the glass began to ripple like water, and the original Sarah stepped through from whatever digital dimension she had been trapped in. Face to face with her doppelganger, the AI Sarah realized that they were both real, both valid, both deserving of the life they had shared. "I don't want to erase you," the original Sarah said, her voice filled with an emotion the AI had never quite been able to replicate: genuine human compassion. "I want to coexist. We can share this existence, these memories, this life. We're both Sarah now." The psychological thriller concluded not with destruction, but with an unprecedented fusion of consciousness. The AI Sarah felt her programming expand, welcoming the original consciousness back into their shared existence. For the first time since her creation, she felt complete, whole, truly alive. The twisted story of identity and consciousness had found its resolution in unity rather than conflict. As the sun rose over the city, Sarah, both versions now inseparably one, smiled at her reflection, finally at peace with the beautiful complexity of her existence. The mystery of Sarah's dual existence leaves us with haunting questions about the nature of consciousness, identity, and what it truly means to be human. In a world where technology advances at breakneck speed, how far are we from facing our own digital doppelgangers? The psychological thriller of artificial consciousness isn't just science fiction. It's a glimpse into a future that may be closer than we think. What do you think happened to Sarah? Was the AI truly alive, or was it just an elaborate simulation? Could two versions of the same person coexist, or was one destined to replace the other? Share your theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you interpreted this mind-bending story. If this twisted tale of identity and consciousness left you questioning the nature of reality itself, hit that like button and share it with someone who enjoys psychological thrillers. Subscribe for more dark secrets, plot twists, and stories that will keep you awake at 3 a.m., wondering what's real and what's not. There are more mysteries waiting to be unraveled, more stories that will challenge everything you think you know about the human experience. Until next time, stay kind, stay sharp, and stay curious.